morning to our esteemed guests, and welcome to the House of Representatives. Committee Secretary, please acknowledge your guests.
Good morning. Assalamualaikum. Thank you, Madam Chair. Our guests for today are BARMM governors from Sulu, Governor Abdul Sakur M. Tan. From Maguindanao, Governor Bay Mariam S. Maudadatu. And from Sultan Kudarat, Governor Dato Pax Ali S. Maudadatu. And Governor Mamital Adyok from Lanao del Sur is also coming. From the third party monitoring team, our chairperson, a former EU official, Mr. Hino Marius, Ms. Karen Tanyata, a member and from the Gaston C. Ortigas Peace Institute, Philippines, member Mr. Hussein Arok from IHH Turkey, and Mr. Sam Shitik, member, Turkey, Mr. Sam Shitik, a member from the Asia Foundation, and Ms. Anel Cortez, the Secretariat of the TPMT, and Mr. Nasrullah Abdullah, Secretary also of the TPMT. That would be all, Madam Chairperson.
Thank you, Comsec. Good morning, everyone. First, I would like to thank the third-party monitoring team for inviting us so we can discuss the prospects of the Bangsamoro peace process under the administration of President Bongbong Marcos. We also have here our governors from Sulu, Maguindanao, and Sultan Kudarat to discuss with us the realities of what's happening on the ground. So maybe later we can exchange ideas for fruitful discussion. So since this is just an informal meeting, we will start with a presentation from the third-party monitoring team. So Chairman Marius, please proceed.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and good morning to you all. We very much appreciate this opportunity for an exchange with the House Committee on Peace, Reconciliation and Unity and the Honorable Governors from Mindanao. We are the third-party monitoring team. We are mandated through the comprehensive agreement of the Bangsamoro and the framework agreement of the Bangsamoro to monitor the implementation of the peace process. We are doing this in a voluntary capacity, and we carry out regular monitoring missions, 3 to 4 missions a year, where we visit, of course, Manila and then also the BARMM and talk to key persons involved in the peace process. So we just spent a week in Cotabato last week and surrounding areas. And now we're here in Manila to wrap up our discussions. We report in confidence to the 2 peace implementing panels of the government and of the MILF. So maybe to give you a brief overview on what is our opinion, where we stand on the implementation of the peace process. We have now new administrations in place, both in Manila and Cotabato, and the peace process has now entered a new and possibly also its final phase. So it's important that President Marcos affirmed his support and commitment to the peace process when he addressed the inaugural session of the Bangsamoro Transitional Authority, the Parliament in Cotabato. It is also important that he upheld the provisions in the Bangsamoro Organic Law that the BTA is led by the MILF during the transition period. This affirms that a proper legal framework for the remainder of the transition period is in place. We now have a BTA with a broader representation, which also includes both factions of the MNLF, and we hope that the emphasis on unity and reconciliation will facilitate the passing of priority legislation in the BTA. The aim is to lay the foundations for meaningful self-governance in the BARMM. The BTA is now focusing on priority legislations, in particular the Electoral Code and the LGU Code. And in our discussions, we did not come across any doubt that these elections will take place in 2025. And as President Marcos also said publicly, there would be no more extension of the transition phase. So actually the BTA is now working full speed on these priority legislations. And they also suspended some of the plenary sessions in order to allow them to put more focus on this. So on the political track, things are moving ahead. But when it comes to the normalization track, which is related to the decommissioning of combatants, turning camps into peaceful and prosperous communities, there we have discovered certain delays. So the normalization track is behind the political track, and the result could be a possible imbalance in the implementation of the peace process. The government here in Manila is certainly placing emphasis on decommissioning, but progress in the field of normalization should also depend on other elements of the normalization process being implemented in parallel, in particular the provision of socio-economic support to decommissioned combatants, the camps transformation, the amnesty provision, and agreed policing. These are just some of the elements where still more needs to be done. There's also little movement when it comes to the implementations of the transitional justice and reconciliation provision. A reorientation of priorities, partly as a result of the pandemic, has led to a shortage of funds. So we believe that Congress can certainly help to ensure proper resource allocations in support of the successful completion of the peace process. We consider as most important is the continued commitment of the parties to the spirit and the letter of the peace agreements. And we are confident that both the BARMM and the central government will improve their performance in the coming years during the second part of the transition period to implement the peace process. Thank you very much. This is just a brief overview on where we stand.
Thank you, Chairman Marius. Is there anyone else from the third-party monitoring team who would like to make a comment, suggestion, or any presentation? None? None? Okay, maybe we can proceed with the interpellation. Who would like to start from our governors? Okay. First, I would like to acknowledge Congressman Muhammad Paglas of the 2nd District of Maguindanao. Sir, do you have any interpellation, any comments, suggestions for our guests?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Good morning to everyone. Actually, I am the congressman in the Maguindanao Sur. With respect to my governor here, the only one is a suggestion, Mr. Madam Chairman, about the peace process in our province and province of Maguindanao. We also suggest we need to talk with the leadership of the BARMM for unity. We pray to Allah that the governance of the BARMM and the governance of the province will be united for the sake of our people in Tan-Tambut. So I'm here to suggest that first, if possible, if the members of the governance of the BARMM, especially the Chief Minister, are here, I think our problem will be automatically maybe solved about the peace process of our province or our region. That's all. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you. Actually, during the organizational meeting of the Committee on Peace, we invited the Chief Minister, but then he wasn't able to attend. He just sent representatives, and the representatives weren't able to answer the inquiries of our governors. So we're holding another meeting, hopefully on November 14. If you're still in the country, perhaps you can join us. So we will also be inviting BARMM and OPAP and again our governors on November 14, so we can discuss the other issues that weren't settled. Um, I would like to acknowledge Governor Adyong of Lanao, Del Sur. Welcome to the House of Representatives. Now let's go to our governors. Any questions, comments from our governors who would like? Yes, Governor Datu Pax of Mangudadato of Sultan Kudarat.
Maraming salamat. Good morning, everyone. I would just like to place a question for our visitors coming from the independent monitoring body. If you were you already briefed and updated about the recent numbers, updated numbers on the decommissioning process, as to how many have been actually decommissioned by the government? May we know the figures that you have been informed of?
During the first round, during the first part of the third round of decommissioning, 6,800 combatants were decommissioned. Then there was an interruption linked to the elections and discussions between the peace implementing panels, but with the appointment of the new BTA, the third round was taken up again. So we visited actually the process in Sultan Kudarat at the APA, the processing center. So the independent decommissioning body is now in the midst of proceeding, and the plan is until the end of the year to decommission another 5,500 combatants. Unfortunately, there is no funding available for the remaining 1,300 combatants, which are part of the third round. This is due to budgetary restrictions. You know, the combatants all receive 100,000 pesos cash allocation when they register when they're verified as decommissioned combatants. This is very well organized, and the DSWD is involved in this. So since the budget for the remaining 1,300 is not available this year, the third round of decommissioning will only be completed, most likely, during the second or the third quarter of 2023. So this is where we stand now.
Thank you so much. Just to clarify, so we've only had two decommissioning rounds so far. And the first one was around 6,000 members.
So the first round was kind of ceremonial, it was 145 members. The second was 12,000. And the two remaining rounds are 14,000 each.
Okay.
And out of these 14,000, there will be 6,800 plus 5,500 decommissioned before the end of the year.
Just another query, Madam Chair. Is the independent decommissioning body or the independent monitoring team in possession of a list of who these people are who are being decommissioned by the government?
No, we are not given the list of the decommissioned combatants. This is between the MILF and the government and the independent decommissioning body.
Thank you so much for your answer. Madam Chair, I would like that to be placed on the record. When we had Secretary Calves here a few weeks ago, what he said was that he was not in possession of any list. He does not know anyone who's been decommissioned because all of them, the list is with the independent monitoring team and independent decommissioning body. Yes, I would like to hear the clarification there.
Just one clarification.
Go ahead, sir.
This is TPMT, not
Yes,
RMEB.
I understand.
Team is different than independent decommissioning body.
I understand. That's why it's it's a very good point that we also have to acknowledge the very fact that even the good secretary has admitted before the House of Representatives that the government has no record as to who these people are. We have the governors in attendance here. We have the congressmen and congresswomen coming from BARMM. Even us, we do not know who these people are being decommissioned. The secretary admittedly does not know. We do not know. We have been never given a list. And it seems like the government is pointing fingers as to who has the possession of this majestic list that they seem to make appear that it's of common knowledge. So it's a little bit worrying on our part because we are already the local leaders down there, but we do not know who these people are being decommissioned.
Before every round of decommissioning, the MILF is presenting the list to the independent decommissioning body. Then what is taking place at the Assessment and Processing Center in Sultan Kudarat is a verification of the persons that have registered to become decommissioned. So this is a very thorough process. So far there have only been very, very few cases where the identity of the persons on the list could not be objectively verified. Only a very, very small number. So these persons are then handed over, so to speak, to the DSWD. They receive this cash allocation. They also have to fill out a long questionnaire. There's then a follow-up interview, which takes place right away there at the APA in Sultan Kudarat. And it is also planned that there will be further follow-up of identifying the needs of the decommissioned combatants when they return to their camps or these names have not yet been submitted.
Thank you so much. I would like to just relay the concern of our locally elected leaders, the barangay captains, mayors, the governors. I would just like to relay this concern to this august body and to our visitors, our guests from the independent monitoring team, that the local leaders, I mean, there seems to be a vacuum as to the verification and identification of who these MILF members are. We are the ones who are actually in the ground dealing with them every day. I just would like to make it a point that there is no RIDO in BARMM that the MLF is not involved. Okay. So all of the things like peace settlements, RIDO settlements are being done by the local government units. But the vacuum that I'm referring now is that these local government leaders does not have any role as to the verification or identification of MLF combatants. This is a very worrying concern because the local government, who's actually there on the ground, is not given the role to validate or even verify who these people are. So this has been a concern for the last 3 years because even we are just surprised that why is there a decommissioning in this part of the area when all of those decommissioners were sent to Cotabato City were people that we never saw in our place. So it's just a concern, Madam Chair, because it seems like the local government units were set aside in this peace process. So that's my first manifestation. The second one is that to avoid confusion, and my province is Sultan Kudarat. It's different Sultan Kudarat from the one mentioned. The Sultan Kudarat is that of Maguindanao, entirely different place. And third point is that what's worrying is that the OPARU, the Office of Secretary Galvez, appears to be lobbying here in Congress uh, additional funding for decommissioning purposes. It makes me wonder, Madam Chair, that the Bangsamoro government already has billions of funds within them. If they really had good intentions to expedite the surrender of their people, they could have easily used the huge chunk of their budget for that purpose. So it's unfortunate that we don't have the chief minister again. I mean, I'm not sure if he was invited, but this will be another question posed for him in our next meeting as well. So that's our concern, sir. We do not know who the MLF decommissioned people are. We are not in possession of any list. It seems that we do not have any role in the identification of these people as well. So it is as if the local government were thrown outside the window. So that's my manifestation, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Sir, I hope you would include in your report that there is a refusal on the part of OPAP, Secretary Galvez, to show us this list of combatants under the premise that there is a confidentiality clause in the agreement or the contract with IDB. So, how can it be confidential when it is of primordial importance to the peace and order of our country? How can they not inform the governors, even the members of the House of Representatives? They wouldn't show us the list. How come they would show it to DSWD but not show it to us? So that's an issue that we haven't settled yet. That's why we're hoping to have another meeting with them. And I hope you can include that in your report. It's important for us that the governors see the list so they can verify who these combatants are. They are the best. They are the people or the best people in position to verify the combatants or alleged combatants in their own province provinces because no one knows their people better than them. So we have to show them the least. If not the House of Representatives, at least the governors. But they cannot hide behind that so-called confidentiality clause. I hope you include that in your report. Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I would just like to make another a manifestation of another concern that I would like to relate to our visitors here. Uh, while there has been series of decommissioning and the local government was never consulted with, even up to now, we were never consulted about the decommissioning. I would just like to raise this concern that is very alarming, is that despite of the repeated reports of Secretary Galvez that everything is going well, it appears that there is even, I will leave the other matters for the governor to speak, but as far as here in my province, we have witnessed a proliferation of firearms among MALF members. There are even MLF camps that are newly established, and we wonder because while we are in the midst of decommissioning, we question the very fact that why are there more firearms going into the hands of these MLF members, and why are there new MLF camps being established? Uh, Personally, the extension of the Bangsamoro Transition Authority tells everyone that the Bangsamoro Transition Authority failed in its mandate for the first 3 years. They were just given another extension by Congress last year. But even though that happened, we just sincerely hope that BARMM and the national government, as well as the provincial and local government units, should help one another in eradicating all of these firearms in the ground. We can tell. I would like to relay one more information that's good for everyone. We have a chief of police of a certain municipal police station in the province of Maguindanao. He was doing his roaming duties when he went to a MNF community where he was just doing his rounds for monitoring of security. This is Lieutenant Samson that I'm talking about. And it was surprising for the whole government, for the whole country, because this police officer who was just doing his job was killed inside the area of a supposed MILF community. That's one of the triggering concerns that tells everyone that there's something wrong. What was supposed to be decommissioned MLF camp, that's where our chief of police died. And until this very day, the suspects were never found. And it's under the guise, under the defensive cloth of peace process. So the military and the Philippine National Police cannot just come in the MLF camps or MLF communities. So I think that's very good information for everyone to have, is that we actually have a law enforcer who was killed inside the MLF camp found in Ampatuan municipality in the province of Maguindanao. So this tells everyone, again, that there seems to be a problem in the decommissioning or the peace process. So that's it for now, Madam Chair. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Chairman Marius.
Of course, it's very regrettable if somebody is killed. Um, there is, under the peace process, a mechanism of consultations between the two parties under the ceasefire agreement. Normally, when it comes to activities of the security forces in the camps, this has to be done with prior coordination. This is part of the mentioned, Governor Datu, you mentioned the weapons held by the MILF. Of course, many of these weapons are supposed to be decommissioned, but it's also a fact that it's not only the MILF which keeps the weapons in the Bangsamoro. There are also issues with private armed groups which are supposed to give up their weapons. There's a program to achieve this. There's also a program to address the small arms and light weapons. So this is something that should definitely be pursued further. So there has to be some kind of a balance in that area. Um, when it comes to the issue you raised about the decommissioning, that you're not being consulted on the list, there is a provision in the Bangsamoro Organic Law for a council of leaders to be set up. This body, the council of leaders, was meant to ensure that there's a dialogue between the BARMM, the officials of the BARMM, the chief minister, various other key persons, and the governors. So this would be a body where these kind of issues could be raised if you have concerns about this. So unfortunately, the Council of Leaders, we understand so far only informal meetings have taken place related to the run-up to the extension of the transition period. But we would consider it essential that this actually is formalized, that the Council of Leaders becomes a formal body under the intergovernmental relations, which will also give you an opportunity to discuss how better to coordinate with the BARMM on programs, on investment into the province, etc., etc.
Thank you so much, sir. Uh, there's another concern from our police officers, from the people conducting operations in the ground. One of the reasons why they no longer see it necessary at certain points to consult or to coordinate their moves with the MLF leadership is because a number of MLF members have pending warrant of arrest from the courts of justices here. It has always been the case that whenever they coordinate for the execution of a certain warrant of arrest, when the cops arrive, it seems that everyone just disappeared. So one of the reasons why at certain points our law enforcers are as hesitant to coordinate is that they would like to apprehend all of these individuals. And I think being BARMM being now part, MLF being now part of the government, should very much respect that idea that the Philippine National Police and the Armed Forces of the Philippines can conduct its operations in fully decommissioned MLF camps. Meaning to say these camps or these communities now are already part of mainstream society. As they are already part of the mainstream society, the same coverage of the Philippine National Police and Armed Forces of the Philippines must also apply. They need not to coordinate to anyone at the risk of losing their objectives. The other point that I would like to mention is that I will leave it to the other governors to tell what they've witnessed. But so far, when I mentioned that there are proliferation of firearms once again among the MLF members, it's not that they have old antique weapons. They actually have new, better weapons that they've had now than compared before. And another point is with the enactment of the anti-terror law of, by Congress and the execution of the President, a number of MLF members are actually listed under the anti-terror law initiative. So some of them has already been classified by the government as terrorists. So how are we going to ensure proper coordination with all of this when some of them have already been listed by the national government as part of the list of the anti-terror law commission? So that's those are my points, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Governor Mangudadatu. Yes, Governor Tan, you are recognized.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and also the members of this committee. Of course, thank you very much to the chairman and the members of the third-party monitoring team for engaging the local government executives, especially more particularly in the area of the Bangsamoro Autonomous region. And I would like to suggest that the matter of monitoring should not be limited to the monitoring between government that is part of the government that is negotiating with the MILF and the MILF. But if we may request, you monitor, please monitor also the matter of local governments with the MILF, because it is the governors and the mayors and the village chiefs who are actually the ones on the ground, and I would assume that we know better. With due respect, we know better than anyone else in government, because we are there, and not only are we there, we have seen the war in the south. It was a very cruel war. Cruel in the sense that even families were divided. One on the side of government and the other on the side of the rebels. And this happened to us, including my family, in the province of Sulu, wherein all of the members of my family on the mother side joined the MNL. All of the members of my family on the father side joined government. So this was in the early 70s when martial law was declared. And in fact, I am not actually new about being a member of the MNLF. I was present during the swearing at even before the declaration of martial law, the swearing before the OI at Ichake Mosque, Manila. So, but then, the first victim after the declaration of martial law, it was my own municipality, my birthplace, wherein the police units of our municipalities, 2 jeeploads of our municipality, where my uncle was mayor after the death of my father. My father died as a mayor in 1971, after which my uncle became the mayor of that municipality, and martial law was declared on September, but in the same year, the war started right in our own municipality, and 2 jeeploads of our police unit were pinned down, and almost all of them were killed. So the municipality of Maimbu was razed to the ground, and we had to leave it because it was already bombarded. It was bombarded by also by government forces, And the war continued up to around the 80s, early 80s. So we do not want that repeated. In 1974, the capital town of Bolo was likewise attacked. And we suffered so much. We suffered because we lost practically everything. Everything were burned. Properties, houses, and everything. So we were left with nothing. So we do not want to suffer the same fate. I mean, at least they say that there is a peace process that is supposed to be ongoing. But then, apparently, this is the local governments have been disregarded. Actually, we do not even know if we are a part of this process. In the matter of the convening of the Council of Leaders, I do not know, there was a time when Chairman Murat met us, and actually it was not met us, met me. And physically, he was the only one present. And he said that was supposed to be a Council of Leaders convening. But after that, there was nothing more. And this was right before the renewal or the extension of the BTA, the Bangsamoro Transition Authority, when they were negotiating, for us to support the extension. So we have been telling them to convene the Council of Leaders, but they have not. So I really do not understand on why. And they say that it is because of the pandemic. If it is because of the pandemic, why were they able to disperse the funds of the BARMM, especially more particularly the black grant, About 2 weeks ago, I was in the office of Special Assistant to the President, Anton Lagdameo, and he told me that the funds are still there. I asked how much funds are still there. Said about 55 billion, but 55 billion out of the more than 200 billion. What have they done? What did they do with the funds? So this is something that we are seeking for an answer. So that is why we are very, very glad that you invited us, and we would like to. If you can, we can possibly engage even more closely and more frequently in, at least for us to be understanding the matter of this so-called peace process. So now, recently I was briefed as a part of the ELAC briefing as a chairman of the ELAC in the province of Sulu. Was briefed by the team headed by Major General Patrimonio, our division commander. And one of those that was presented was the turn-in of something like 69 firearms, 64 firearms, I think genuine, and 5 homemade. And I was asking them to provide me with particulars such as the serial numbers, as well as the supposedly possessors of the firearms, because I was told that these are MILF who are supposed to be part of the decommissioned combatants from Sulu. But they told me that the firearms had been transported to Camp Garapanan and they were not supposed to, they told me that they were not supposed to get the numbers or the serial numbers of these firearms, including the names of the supposed possessors. So I said, why is it like that? Well, that is the order to them. They cannot get the numbers, but this will be shipped to Garapanan. Well, I said, this is what is bothering us. We cannot even have copy of the so-called combatants. So-called combatants, which I understand is something like 40,000. Now, it was admitted, it was reportedly admitted by Secretary Galvez that there are 40,000 with firearms of 12,500. Out of this 12,500, 5,000 are supposed to be privately owned, and only something like 7,500 are owned by the NILF. But not all of the 7,500 would be turned in as part of the commissioning, because they will have to retain these firearms for their security. And in which case, to us, this will defeat the purpose of the commissioning. So, people have been doubting, how can you decommission or say there is sincerity in this decommissioning if you do not turn in the firearms and you do not even provide us with the roster of the members of this 40,000. Now, in fact, we have been telling Secretary Galvez that what we want is one combatant and one firearm. It should be that way, because then you cannot call anyone a combatant who does not have firearm. Because way back in the 70s, early 70s, one combatant would possess at least one firearm. Others even have two. Others even have three. Because at that time, a combatant would own one rifle, one grenade launcher, and maybe one pistol or one bladed weapon. So that was in the early 70s. And there should be more firearms now. So I remember during the time of President Era, when he was telling us that he was going to launch an attack. And I told him, well, you have to launch. Well, he said, we cannot spend funds of government for these people and entrench themselves in their camps, entrench their bunkers, and using government funds. This is like fooling ourselves. If we spend money to entrench the enemy. That was during the time of, that was in the year, mga year 2000, around year 2000, when Camp Abu Bakar was also attacked, I think, year 2000. So, this is it, sirs, about the matter of these activities or performance of this BARMM. So, we would like to suggest that kindly engage us more often. We want to sit down with you so that you would know what is on the ground and we would know what have you reached or what have you monitored as far as the progress of this peace process is concerned. So far, that is about all, Madam Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Governor Tan. Yes, Chairman Marius.
Yes, thank you very much. We would certainly like to engage with the LGUs. we have done so on previous occasions. Last week we met Mayor Cruz Palau in Cotabato City. We plan during our next visit, we plan to go to Cavite, Masila, and we would also like to visit you in Sulu if the occasion arises.
Madam Chair, we would like to extend the invitation. Please do come. San Chedik was there. So, look at him, he's always smiling. Because he was there.
Chamsidik was everywhere.
That's, my brother there, Hussein.
Yeah. But maybe on some of the points raised so far, maybe my colleagues would also like to make a few comments. With your allowance, Madam Chair? Yeah.
Yes, please proceed.
I think firstly on the, thank you very much for everything, all of the contributions and the questions that we've had so far. I think it demonstrates that there's obviously a deep commitment to continuing the pathway to peace from everybody. But at the same time, there are serious issues that remain in the process. So thank you for raising all of these, and we will, of course, be taking note of everything that's raised. And in particular, Governor Tan, on your point about the Council of Leaders, we also agree that it's critical that that be stood up. And the purpose of the original design was precisely to deal with some of these issues. So we will be revisiting that again in terms of recommendations and ways forward for the Council of Leaders. In respect to your points around the weapons and the number of combatants and the number of weapons, we note the recommendation that there should be one weapon per combatant. And we know that that's been discussed before between the panels. It's one of those areas which seems a little ambiguous because the agreements on the numbers are not formally part of the annex to the comprehensive agreement of the Bangsamoro. They are an executive commitment, if you like, between the leadership of the MLF and the President of the Republic of the Philippines at the time. So that question, I guess, is one which will, if it is to be changed or resolved, would be at that level of the executive agreement between the state and the more Islamic Liberation Front. Maybe I'll pass to my colleagues on any other points.
Thank you very much. Actually, I'm part of your process from 2013, means 9 years. I'm not part of your problems here, just we are outsiders. And we have been invited by government of Philippines and MLF. And we have been tasked to monitor the peace process. Not to monitor the Philippines, not to monitor the BARMM. We have been obliged to monitor the peace process. What we have done last 9 years, we have never stopped. We continue, even the peace process have been slowed many times, especially on time of the Mamasatano. It was a very critical time. On time of the Marawi, also there was many problems, but the TPMT never stopped. We came to ground, we visit, and we have continuously fulfilled our promises. What's our promises? We promise to support the peace here in the And what I'm seeing from the distance, we need a peace in the Philippines, in Bangsamoro, in the world. And the peoples on the ground can do it. When I look at the problems of my region in the Middle East, it is too much complicated. You have a very simple problem here in the Bangsamoro when I compare the Middle East. And there is a good chance for all of the leaders. What I'm seeing, not as a TPMT, but I'm seeing, if the leaders of the Bangsamoro together, the solution is very easy. And this peace process is unique say they was in the jungle last 50 years. Now they are in the government. And this transition is very, very critical. And they need to be allowed to do something. And we need to monitor. And we need to inform them that what's going on. And I'm very positive. I'm very positive about that. And the peoples, we are listening to regions. We are meeting with the peoples on the ground. And everybody is happy, at least the security wise. When I compare with 9 years ago, now all the regions are much more secure. Of course, the incidence is going down. Even in the Manila, you can face the similar problems. But last year, I think, the Cotabato was the safest city of the whole Philippines, or second safest city. Things are not bad. There is some problems, of course. But we are not in the position to say something or answer your questions. Yes, the list of combatants, maybe you can request. But while we are meeting with the IDB, terms of references of TPMT, we have a power to reach the all related documents of this person, but not diseases. We are also not allowed to see the list of these components. And what the IDB is saying, they are saying it is in server, it is not in internet. And it's a
matter of an agreement was reached between the president, then president of the Philippines, and the leadership of the MILF. In the matter of the one-to-one, the commissioning, one gun to one combatant, the commissioning is left to only the leadership and the president. I think that should be made public, made known to the Filipino nation that such an agreement was reached. We cannot hide it from our people. And the Philippine government or the Filipino nation would not allow their leaders to hide anything from them. This is something that should not be limited only to the BARMM region, because this can affect the whole nation. Remember that, especially the province of Maguindanao is in the mainland, and it is adjacent to so many other provinces, such as Davao, North Cotabato, South Cotabato, and so on. Now, should this process not succeed, or maybe confusion escalate, then it could spill over to other provinces. This is something that should be looked into. It is not limited. It is not limited. In fact, I learned that even camps have been propping up in other areas outside of the BARMM provinces. Lanao Norte, Sultan Kudarat, yes, Bukidnon. So, in fact, recently, just about 4 or 5 days ago, some individuals, I really cannot confirm if this was with the consent of the leadership or the authorities of the MNLF or the MILF. Somebody was raising a flag of the MNLF or the flag of the MILF, of which I instructed the village official to approve the flag, so it was approved. So this is something, unless coordinated, that could spark. We have been telling them that there are still other armed people on the ground other than the MILF and the MNLF. Although the more dominant rebel group in the province of Sulu is the MNLF. So they say that they have this MNLF one faction and the MNLF other faction. Actually, even prior to this pronouncement of Secretary Galvez that he was able to bring the two factions together, they were already together. Because the son of the late Chief Kiri came to me and I told him to send a letter to Secretary Galvez telling him that to have reconciled with Chairman Isote. So a letter was sent to Secretary Galvez. So it is not something new. Now, I hope this can be clarified, Mr. Chief. Now, in the matter of, they say that they like peace. Yes, of course, in their words, but unless you convert that into action, how can you like peace if you do not turn in your heart? What use would it be to be keeping or keeping the partner in your possession? This, there are enough firearms that could spark a bigger war. I've been telling them, I have never believed in uh, this balik baril program where government buys firearms of turn in firearms will be paid by government. I said, you know, they only turn in old firearms, old model, and they buy new ones. Now, in this case of the bar, so much money is in their hands. So much. In fact, I was told by Secretary Anton Lagdameo that they were told that they do not know anymore what to do with their partner, with the funds of more than 200 billion. They spent only more than 100 billion. I think the 5 billion is still in now with the dividend for the 2023, 2022 budget. So what is dangerous is if these firearms, these funds, are wrongly used. So if these funds are wrongly used, you know, it's like strengthening the who could become enemies of government. So we do not want that to happen. We already suffered so much. We already sacrificed and suffered so much blood and been spilled. And you know, one time I was visited by then Secretary of Local Secretary Desturesa, together with Galvez, when he was Chief of Staff. They came to see me in my house. They were telling me that I should really join this BARMM, this practice, I should campaign for BARMM in the Penicillin. I said, you know, I already know. During the arm, nothing has happened. And in fact, what has happened is our development has been set back by so many years. Then I asked him, you tell me how many years is development set back? At least in my brother. And then he asked my brother to answer. My brother answered, we are set back by 200 years. So I said, 5 generations, 4 generations. I die 5 times, it would still be the same. We want our people also to grow. We want our people to learn. We want our people to be capacitated. We want our people to become responsible citizens of our province. So this is precisely, I know, who became, yes, 10 years they were in the jungle. They were not actually in the jungle. They were there. Their jungle were there, you know, the encampment there. That comes Garamana. That is not really the jungle. lines of Sulu that voted against inclusion. And my case is still pending before the Supreme Court, awaiting resolution so that we can get out of this bar. Because, we have people who would like to grow. But at the rate we are going, we are not growing. So we want to be at par with the rest of the Philippine nation. We have been telling them, we are a minority in this country. That we must admit. Telling them even in a when you are a minority, do not seek for special treatment. Government will never give that to you. Ask only for fair treatment. Because even the majority does not ask for special treatment. Because special treatment, you become second place. So, sir, I hope we can talk some more. Not only today, but even after today. We want to listen to you, and please, listen also to us. Thank you.
Yes, certainly we would like to talk more to you and to the other governors as well. So when the opportunity arises, we would very much like to come and visit you. Maybe our member, Ms. Caratagana, maybe you have some wise words.
Not really. Just to reiterate that, yes, we would be very happy to continue to meet with you, maybe more often with local leaders and also here in the House of Representatives. And we look forward also that the mechanisms will continue, such as I think there's also supposed to be the mechanism between the BTA and the Congress that is still to be set up. So that would also help in the coordination. So we look forward to those bodies to be continued and to be supported. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I think everyone notices by now that the local government units are not really happy with what's happening there in the Bangsamoro region. This is for a number of reasons, and one of them is that the BARMM government has always been very antagonistic against the local government units. There are many cases when the governors and the BARMM officials clashes. They said that there was a council of leaders, but my mother and perhaps other governors as well have not really been part of the council of leaders. My uncle, Governor Sultan Sakortan, pointed out a very important matter, is that when the council of leaders was called, only he was the one who was there. All other governors were not really welcome. But this is a very important matter for us to fix. The relationship between the local government units and the BARMM has been really sour. And as you've already heard, that there is actually a pending proposal in the petition in the Supreme Court for the exit of the Bangsamoro government. I do not know. Maybe, just maybe, if the plebiscite on BOL or BARMM will be conducted today, I think it would have a very different result. And if you, I would also like to inform everyone that even the teachers in the Bangsamoro region are not very happy. The teachers in the public schools under Minister Iqbal, their salaries have been delayed for a number of months. That's a very big problem for them, especially that's their only source of living. And not only are we having problems in the Ministry of Education, similar problems can be seen under the Ministry of Health of BARMM and other ministries as well. So yeah, that's really a concern for everyone. Is that the Bangsamoro government hasn't really been that welcoming to the local government. They see us more as enemies rather than partners for development. That from the last election that we witnessed just a few months ago, BARMM was set by the people to have mobilized their funds and resources to advance their own political candidates. They fielded up UBGP candidates all throughout BARMM. And having them being extended, they were relieved from the problem of subjecting themselves to the popular vote. But despite of them being extended, they still mingled with other local government positions. They fielded up candidates in almost all municipalities in our area. And even outside of BARMM, they were able to field candidates under the United Bangsamoro Justice Party. So with what they're doing, instead of being inclusive and instead of being a whole party approach, they're actually trying to create division and they're actually trying to make the things worse for local government officials. Maybe we are just maybe in just a few years from now, before 2025, they might lobby for another extension. But President Marcos has already said that this will be the last 3 years as a transition authority. I have a lot of things that I want to say, but these are important points, as you've already observed, that the governors, as well as many or majority of our mayors, are not really happy with what the BARMM government is doing. So I hope that the international and the independent or third-party monitoring team can help us and have it in their records the big gap between the Bangsamoro government and the local government units in BARMM. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Governor Datu Paxmo Datu. Yes, Governor Tan.
Madam Chair, thank you. Actually, I told some members of the team of Chairman Moran that they should learn from the mistake of their rebel predecessors who became governors. Yeah. I told them they tried to isolate and exclude the local officials. How can you succeed if you do not have people on the ground? They cannot. They will never, even the national government, without the local officials, they can hardly implement. So that is what I told them. I hope they listen. But they think that whenever we say something like this, we just want to perpetuate ourselves in our present positions. In fact, during our meeting in Malacanang, in the presence of President Duterte and Chairman Murad was present, I told them that I am not interested in any BARMM position. And in fact, I was even contemplating of not running for local position during the last election. Just to assure them that ours is sincere from the heart. But I know we have to gain, we have to gain, we have to gain their trust. And maybe they also do not trust us. Well, that is understandable. If my brother Jose says that they were in the jungle for 50 years, and we are out of the jungle for the last, for the rest of our life, our lifetime, and understandable if you have not seen the light. Thank you.
Thank you, Governor Tan. Um, Sir, personally, I would say that ARMM was a failed experiment. And so we do not want BARMM to have the same outcome. Of course, all of us here would like the peace process to be successful. But then you see, ARMM was contaminated with so much corruption. And we do not want that to happen with BARMM. So that is, as a legislator, that is one reason why it is important for me in this committee to see the list of combatants to make sure that it is not corrupted. And we also want the governors to see the list because, as I have said a while ago, it is the governors who know their people best. It is them who can identify their people best. That's why we have to include them in the decommissioning. Otherwise, well, we wouldn't know if the list of names are real people. So we just want to make sure that the funds are going to where it should be. Remember, we're giving BARMM 70 billion block grant annually. And this 70 billion comes from taxpayers' money. Taxpayers not just from the BARMM region, but taxpayers from all over the Philippines. So everyone deserves to know what's going on with the peace process, the nitty-gritty. Everyone deserves to know. Because again, we're spending taxpayers' money. And that's, as a legislator, that is my concern. I want to make sure that the 70 billion annual block grant is going to the right place. So, any comments, suggestions? Yes, Chairman Marius.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I mean, I can assure you, we went to the assessment and processing area for the decommissioned combatant. I can assure you they're real people, and it's all a process which is very well managed by the independent decommissioning body on the basis of the list which is presented by the MILF. What is very much coming across from the interaction here is that you pass a message that there's a lack of trust in the market. Now, the only way to address this is through engagement. We did not get the impression when we talked to the people in the BARMM, the various ministries, the chief minister, other key contacts, that they look at the LGUs as their enemies. In fact, we hear that in some parts of the BARMM, the funds which are provided through the block grant are now put to a good use. Including, we've heard some good things about Zulu. Yeah? Now, yeah, I mean, but look, I mean, it's a new administration. You said the ARM was a failed experiment. Okay, this may well be the case, but we now have a new approach with a new regional government, and obviously it takes time. These ministries have to be staffed. It takes time before their programs can be fully implemented. And we had the pandemic in between, which was a very disturbing factor. So you also have to be a little bit patient with them, because in the end, I think everybody can benefit from this. The LGUs, you get your contributions through the appropriations from Manila. The BARMM gets appropriations through the block grant. So in principle, this is an opportunity to really turn the BARMM into a very prosperous region. And right now, the growth rates are amongst some of the highest Council of Leaders is one option there. Of course, this is all specified in the Bangsamoro Organic Law, who should be part of the Council of Leaders. And we understand, we were told that they are now looking into this and they will soon come forward with a proposal. So, but also at more local level, there should be better coordination between the BARMM and the LGUs in order to ensure that everybody prospers from this arrangement.
Thank you, Mayor. Actually, we have been wanting to engage with them. We have been inviting them to come to Sulu, especially Chairman Murad. He came to Sulu only once in the last 3 years. Why? In fact, wanted to invite them to, well, I think I invited him even to my house. Also, Chairman Iqbal, Chairman Iqbal, we have been telling them, please come and visit us more often. The President visits 81 provinces and so many cities and even municipalities. President Duterte has visited Sulu at least 15 or 20 times. Now, there are only 5 provinces. You cannot visit in how many cities? Remember, if all of the regions will ask for block grant, huh? The Philippine government, the Philippine coffers will run out of funds. Imagine, 80 billion, 70 billion per region. So, you are so privileged. So why don't you come and visit us? We want to talk to you. I've been telling them. I've been telling Iqbal and Murad, convene the Council of Leaders. Recently, I was assured again by Secretary Galvez during a turnover of command of the West Mindanao, Western Mindanao Command. That was, I think, on October 4. So I was there, and Minister Makakua, Sami Gambal was also present. I told them, you know, you give funds to individuals who are not accountable officials of government. Like the matter of providing or giving funds to what, or forcing matters of construction of housing units to private individuals without coordinating with the local government units. In the case of my municipality, a certain individual came to tell the municipal government, the municipal chief executive, that they want to determine or identify the areas where these units would be constructed. 200 units for several areas. But the mayor asked, do you have property to show where you can construct? Because you cannot use government funds, construct any structure in a private property. He said done. So I told him you better go away. So another municipality, same thing. So I told Galvez and Makakua, you come and visit Sulu. Out of this maybe 400, maybe 600, maybe 1,000 housing units, not a single unit has been constructed. Now, is this performance? If it is performance, well, that is great success. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Governor.
we really appreciate that the third-party is listening to our concerns, because it makes us feel that there is an ear that is really listening to us and willing to help us make BARMM a better place for everyone. But Chairman really made an important point that there is a lack of trust. I mean, many people do not trust BARMM. And when we're trying to understand, since they are a new government, they're only 3 years old, but 3 years old, but with very big horns now. Malaki ng sungay. But this only because, as you've already noticed, a lot of people now in BARMM suspect the Bangsamoro government to be very corrupt. If a lot of people say that if ARM was bad, it was a failed experiment, BARMM is worse when it comes to handling the big funds that they're given. So that's what the people say. So yes, there's a very a big lack of trust towards our Bangsamoro government with the allegations on graft and corruption and everything, and with the strained relationship between them and our government officials. We cannot help it but see the bad side. But hopefully, through your help, we can establish better relationship. Every party would stop being antagonistic to another, and people will focus on peace and development rather than partisanship and politics. Because as we've seen, they've been very much involved in the local politics, and this is where everything stand out from the bad relationship and the toxic relationship that we have with BARMM government. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Governor Datu Pax. Sir, you mentioned a while ago about trust. Well, you see, I guess it's true that there's no trust between the BARMM regional government and the local government. Even with Congress, how are we supposed to trust them? You see, during our first committee hearing, we asked the representatives of BARMM to give us an audit report and a performance report, and we gave them 1 week to provide those. Until this day, they haven't given us any. We emailed them to remind them about the audit report and the performance report, but they did not say anything. They did not reply. How are we supposed to trust them? And then here comes this list of combatants, which they are very hesitant to show us. For what reason? Why will you not show this to us? This is a matter of primordial importance to the peace and order of our country, not just in BARMM. So you have to show that to us. And in the Philippines, it is constitutionally enshrined. Our freedom of information is constitutionally enshrined. So they should show that to us. They should not be so apprehensive about giving us these informations. So I guess that's one of the reasons why there is a trust issue between the regional government and the local government. Yes, Chairman Marius.
It is very regrettable that there is no trust between the LGUs and the BARMM, and I think both sides should work towards building trust, and both sides should have a little bit of confidence that we're all working towards the same aim. Now, I think Governor Datu-Pax, you mentioned that there are indications that the BARMM government is misappropriating funds. Do you have any evidence of that, or is this just based on?
What we're waiting for is that there will be a performance review and audit with BARMM, especially on how they have utilized the 70 billion plus annually. But as already been stated, they're even hesitant to show us where the money went. So actually, there's a principle in law that when a document is asked and the government party was not able to give the document that proves the proper utilization of funds, there's a presumption of malversation under what we call the criminally accepted principles here in our country. So it's been several months, they failed to give it to us. And as I've already stated, we're not saying that BARMM is corrupt. What we're saying is many people say that BARMM is corrupt. And that only shows that it's not only the local government units that have trust issues with them, it's actually the people. That's why I mentioned earlier that if the plebiscite on BOL were to be conducted today, it would have a very different result. So thank you, sir.
Madam Chair, uh, actually, they say that they're performing so well and that they're supposed to be the representatives of the people. But then, why are they so reluctant about submitting themselves to the people in an election, citing, among others, the pandemic? It has become a very convenient excuse for them to say, oh, they are not able to perform because of the pandemic. I would think that the pandemic even gave us more time to attend to what was supposed or what we are supposed to do and what we are supposed to be mandated to do. So, but to me, the pandemic was a blessing. It was a blessing because, number one, families were brought together. Another is people learned how to, become more productive. In my area, in Sulu, people learned how to cook, people learned how to do business, sell, and do some catering. So, to me, it was the better, it was the real normal, not a new normal. That was the correct normal. Because outside of that, it was abnormal. Because when discipline is lacking, that is not normal. But at least under with that pandemic, people learned how to follow laws, follow regulations. So that face mask, you wash your hands. I think that was good for us. If only we can have something like that without the disease, follow regulations, that would make a very healthy society. At least in the province of Sulu, it was very healthy for us. So it should never be made as an excuse. In fact, it should have encouraged them to do more, provide more. If they did not know what to do with the funds. But what did they do? We spent more of the government local funds for a pandemic than the BARMM. We transported medicines and everything. We did that ourselves. Thank you, Madam.
Thank you. Yes, Chairman Marius.
Yes, to respond to that, the peace agreements, the comprehensive agreement of the Bangsamoro and the framework agreement were painstakingly negotiated over many years. And then we had the Bangsamoro Organic Law, which is the legal basis for the BARMM, which is a very comprehensive document with a plethora of steps to be taken, steps to be implemented, including, of course, the very crucial core legislations. And simply to say that the original transition period of 3 years was very, very optimistic for this task also not forget is an autonomous region, which is based on the 1987 Constitution. So there is in the agreements the concept of parity of esteem. That is, there are two governments dealing with each other, the government in Manila and the government in Cotabato. So there also has to be a form of mutual respect between these two parties, and the BARMM should be given sufficient time to implement what has been agreed in lengthy negotiation and what is in the Bangsamoro Organic Law.
Thank you. Yes, Governor Tan.
You know, Madam Chairman, Madam Chair, you know, if we wait for them, good if they are doing uh, what is expected of them. I mean, do the mandate. But if they are not, we are growing old. We never grow young. So even Chairman Murad is also aging. And so with the other officials of the BARMM, we are also aging. So who will take care of our next generation if we do not do it now? So actually, in our case, never mind. We are already old. We can go. But the problem is the next generations that will come after us. What will happen to them? They will become laggards. So we want them to be at par with the rest of the Filipino nation. This is what we have been saying. You want to become special. And yet you want to become autonomous, but you are not really autonomous because you rely on your operations on the government or the national government. Now, I really do not know of any autonomous region that has become successful. If ever they have become successful, like I read one in, in Spain, after which they're now seeking for independence. Do we go to war again? No. What we want is something like what the Afro-Americans did in America. The Aborigines or the American Indians sought for what? Special treatment. The affirmative action in America. What happened to the American Indians? All of their lands have been taken over by government. Look at the Afro-Americans. Did they ask for special treatment? No. They asked only for fair treatment. Even Barack Obama never really imagined, father of Barack Obama never really imagined that one day his son would become president of the world. Why? Because at that time when he was born, that was the height of racial discrimination. But did the blacks or the colored Americans ask for special treatment? No. They sought for civil liberty, fairness. So they performed, they strived very hard. They excelled in academic, they excelled in sports, performing arts, and so on. So this is what we like to happen. We are a minority. This is what I have been saying. I do not seek to have a special treatment because I become second class. Even soldiers who are individuals who would like to join the armed forces, who would like to join the Philippine National Police, they want certain requirements to be waived. I always tell them, do not do that. Because you become second class citizen or second class member of that organization. When you want to compete, compete on equal footing. If you are not ready, do not compete. So I hope this is understood by the leadership of the BARMM. So we are not against peace. We just want real peace. And that is just, and that will last until we are gone. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Governor Tan. Any more from the members of the third-party monitoring team?
No, just to say that you mentioned the young people, Governor Tan. I think what they want and what they really deserve is peace. And there are now lots of new young members also part of the Bangsamoro Transition Authority who are committed to working for peace. And please look at these peace agreements as a chance to achieve lasting peace in the Bangsamoro, because this is, from our point of view, this is possible based on the commitment of both parties to these peace agreements in cooperation with the local government units in the Bangsamoro. So please try to work to establish trust. Please try to work to achieve better cooperation. I think the next 3 years offer that opportunity. And in 2025, there will be democratic elections in the Bangsamoro. There will be a new BTA, also on the basis of the seats on party lists. And I think this is an opportunity for the people in the Bangsamoro to achieve sustainable self-governance. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Marius. It has been a fruitful meeting. Again, thank you, TPMT, for inviting us. Thank you to all our guests, our governors, Congressman Paglas. Thank you for making time to attend this meeting. I hope TPMT can join us on our meeting on November 14. Um, 14. No, we're moving it to November 14. 14. November 14. So I hope you can join us. We will be inviting the Chief Minister and Chairman Iqbal, as well as Secretary Galvez of OPAP, IDB, and again, our governors and other guests. So I hope you can join us so we can have more discussions about the peace process.